Saturday's shooting in Buffalo, New York is being called a hate crime and a targeted attack. And given what we're learning about the suspect and his history, many are wondering, how could this happen? Let's bring in tonight's crime panel to discuss former FBI Special Agent John Iannarelli and former ATF Assistant Director Rich Marianos, who was also the incident response commander for both the Columbine and Sandy Hook shootings. Gentlemen, good to have you with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Shannon.
Rich, you have way too much personal experience with this, so I'll ask for your initial reaction. When we know this young man was spotted last year, he was taken for mental health evaluation, and he was continuing to post things online leading up to this, signaling exactly what he was planning to do. How does this happen?
How does it happen is, I wish I had the crystal ball. What the sheriff mentioned, which is very articulate and correct, is he bought guns legally. He wasn't a prohibited person. He was not a convicted felon. So it enabled him to buy a gun just like somebody goes and buys tires at an auto parts store. What is disturbing that his mental capacity was so diminished that he used these weapons in such a violent crime, where myself in my 30 years in law enforcement has never seen so much carnage.
Well, the Wall Street Journal has the editorial board has a piece yesterday about the massacre in Buffalo. That's the headline. It says mass shooters have had many motivations. They talk about his white supremacy, his rantings. They say in recent years, mental illness seems to be the most significant common denominator, to the extent that there is one. John?
So these issues, we see that the common denominator is, aside from the hatred that was displayed, there's issues with mental illness, and we see that consistently in all these cases. Politicians want to talk about gun control, and I'm all about having rules in place, but New York has some of the strictest gun control laws around. We need to have a conversation about the mental health crisis in this country and what we can do, treatment, and having laws that allow law enforcement to intervene when somebody is exhibiting these kind of signs, like we saw previously with this subject a year ago at his own high school.
Yeah, and you mentioned New York's gun laws, and some writing that's attributed to him, because he's got a lot out there, talks about the fact that he chose New York because of some of this. It says in a section, this is from townhall.com, in a section about why he chose the Buffalo market, Gendron explains New York has heavy gun laws, so it would ease me if I knew that any legally armed citizen was limited to 10-round magazines or limited performance firearms. I mean, Rich, he seems to have made a very specific calculation there.
Oh, yeah, he was a calculated criminal. And, one of the biggest problems we have now is crime control. Everyone's screaming gun control. Where's the crime control? This administration is driving me crazy with all their talk and all their rhetoric, from defunding the police to now banning menthol cigarettes, instead of coming out with a tactical plan to deal with criminal activity. Every one of these instances was a criminal act, and we're not having any tactical plan whatsoever to deal with this. And who suffers? But law enforcement and the citizens. Public safety should be paramount right now with the economy, and it's not. And when we have criminals plotting magazine rounds and gathering weapons, we have a problem here, and we don't have any solutions. If you give me one politician right now in the 202 area code with the solution to this problem, I'll give you my pension.
Yeah, I mean, they talk of, prosecutors not actually prosecuting people being bailed out very quickly, any number of things. But there are other assessments of what's going on behind this. The Los Angeles Times talks about a new generation of white supremacist killers. They say they're isolated and online, radicalized on internet memes and misinformation, apparently inspired by live streams to find fame through bloodshed, much of it propelled by convoluted ideas that the white race is under threat from everything from interracial marriage to immigration. John, and we know that he started out with a live stream on this. He had a helmet cam. He wanted people to see what he was doing. I mean, what is this internet community, this growing connection with other people that share these thoughts and thinking maybe you're going to go out in a blaze of glory?
That's some of it. We've seen this before. It certainly happened in Australia a couple of years ago, live streaming attacks at mosques. And that is the communication of the 21st century, where these criminals want everybody to see what they're doing. It's one of the reasons I never mention the subject's name, because I don't want them to have that kind of publicity. But Shannon, we're seeing this across the board. We had the attack in Wisconsin with the vehicle on the Christmas parade, the attack at the church the other day that involved involve the Chinese community versus Taiwan. So it's not just white supremacy. This mental health and violence issue is everywhere in our society. And we have to be prepared by letting the police do their job and prosecutors prosecuting cases.
Yeah, and being willing to speak up if somebody in our family or community is exhibiting signs that we think are very dangerous. I know a lot of people are uncomfortable doing that, but you have to know that there are warning signs in many, if not all of these cases. Rich and John, thank you both very much for your experience, for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I appreciate your time.